Hello everyone, my name is Zareen, and if you've seen my other videos, you know that I'm documenting my time on Concerta with ADHD. So this is my 5th attempt at trying to film this video, so bear with me if I feel a bit exhausted and forget what I'm saying. So technically this is day 5 of Concerta. I did take a 5-day break in between, so it could have been day 10, but it's day 5. I provided a brief update last week on day 3 of how I was feeling. And I did mention that, I was anxious, and I was really anxious the day before, and so the day after is when I decided to take the break. So just to rewind a bit, the first day on Concerta, I noticed that I had a bit of an upset stomach about 5 hours in, and in the evening I had really bad indigestion. I felt like if I were to bend over I would vomit, and I had a really hard time falling asleep. The second day, after about an hour of taking the medication, I started getting really antsy in my stomach, and I felt anxious the whole day. It was totally a write-off. I felt miserable and uneasy and anxious, and it was just the worst. Day 3 is when I filmed the update, and I had a paper due that afternoon, and I was feeling anxious for sure, as a result of the medication or the paper, I don't know, but definitely was not concentrating well at all. So day 4, I had an exam in the evening that I knew I couldn't write because I was just feeling so anxious for the past 2 days, and there was no concentration as a result. So I visited my doctor in day 4, and she recommended taking a break for a few days from Concerta just so that I could focus on my exams, finish those, and then give Concerta a second try. So I took Concerta for 4 days and then took this 5-day break. In between, I did have an exam on the Saturday last week, and it went fairly well, I hope. But now I'm just in the process of trying to prepare for my deferred exam, but kind of in summer mode right now as well. But I think it was a really good idea to take the break because I was already anxious for my exams, and if Concerta was adding anxiety or adding, sick feelings and in terms of indigestion and stuff, that won't help someone with ADHD who already has a hard time concentrating. So it's really important to involve your doctor in your experiences with medication. If you notice something after a few days or something keeps repeatedly happening, your doctor is the one to go to for feedback on that. So they can see if it's a good idea for you to stay on Concerta or whatever medication, or if you need another dose or what have you. But it's really important to involve your doctor so that they know what's going on and they can help you. Because if you're like me, who had an exam or a few exams or whatever, it probably wasn't the right time to start Concerta because I already had all these things making me anxious. So now I'm trying to give it a second try from a clean slate where I don't have too much to worry about, and see if it works. But with many medication, it's not guaranteed that it's going to work for you, and you might have to try a few different ones before you find the right one. That's kind of the path that I'm on. It could be that the second time around Concerta still isn't helpful, then I might have to try something else, but it's always important to keep note of how you're feeling and try, because you'll never know unless you do. So that's where I am right now, day 5 of Concerta. I took it about 2 hours or 3 hours ago, and I had food an hour after because I did hear from a lot of people on different forums that they found Concerta to be more effective once they had eaten, if they had eaten food an hour after taking the medication. So right now, I'm feeling kind of calm, not anxious really. My thoughts are a little less scattered, so hopefully that'll help me when I'm studying for my exam, but we'll see. So I'll provide you an update again in a few days as to how Concerta the second time around is going. hopefully it'll be for the better. But in my first video, I had talked a little bit about financial aid for students with ADHD. So I'm a student at an Ontario university. Ontario is a province here in Canada. And as far as I know, any student in Canada can apply for the Canada Access Grant. So as long as you have the permanent disability certification, which ADHD is a disability according to Ontario universities, so long as you have that certificate, you can apply for the Canada Access Grant, which is a type of bursary which applies up to $2,000 towards your tuition, as long as you're taking at least 2.0 courses, I think. So that's really helpful for students like me who have spent a long time in school, because it takes long to finish school when you have ADHD. It takes long to get through anything. So for students like me who've been in school for a long time and are racking up the loans, any dollar back can help, and especially $2,000 towards my tuition is a big help. Another bursary is called Bursary for Students with Disabilities, and it can be applied towards any assistive technology. So for me, I have trouble reading and staying focused. So there's a program called Kurzweil, which actually helps with that. It reads aloud. So if I wanted to purchase that, I can apply for this bursary and be reimbursed for the program. And the program's up to $2,000. So again, I'm really being helped out in terms of those expenses. So that bursary can also be applied for things like note takers or counseling for students with ADHD. It's a really, really helpful bursary, I'd say, and why not look into something like that if you're a student with ADHD in Ontario. So there's definitely a lot of avenues out there, and as well at my university, there's so many resources that I'm so grateful for. You know, I have a learning strategist, someone who can help me to figure out what I need to do to stay successful in school. There's writing centers. There's special study rooms for students with disabilities. There's the access to programs like Kurzweil and Inspiration, which help you to organize your thoughts, help you to read aloud. So there's a lot of different resources out there, so I'm really grateful for having gone through the assessment at school and really tapping into that stuff. As well, I get exam accommodation, and I got that for my anxiety as well, but now it's guaranteed with my ADHD. So I get extra time on my exams, I get a separate room, I get rest breaks, and it's all stuff that I need, because with the anxiety, I'd need to leave the room. I need those rest breaks because I'd probably pull out my hair otherwise. I needed that extra time because I couldn't focus on what I was reading, and I couldn't get my thoughts out. And I needed that quiet space, because having 500 students around you write an exam is a huge anxiety inducer, if anything, and a big distraction for people with ADHD. So I'm really grateful for the resources that I have at school, and I implore all students with ADHD to really look into seeing what they have, especially if you're from Canada or Ontario, really looking into those bursaries, because if you're like me, you're on your own for paying tuition, every penny counts. So yeah, definitely something worth looking into. But yeah, that's where I am right now. Day 5 technically of Concerta, trying it for the second time around. I gave some information on financial aid, and I'll have more info for you in a few days. But thank you for watching.